You are listening to the Mohua show where it's all about celebrating the Junoon among changemakers and their journey.
ISKCON has been created to firstly reach out to the audience which is beyond India. Naturally, they created a very strong section for them. Now, their followers are the people who largely are globally based also.
How can we ensure that our ancient temples are preserved, for future generations?
How many times we actually go there and see यार ये साफ सुथरा है कि नहीं और चलो चार बाल्टी लेके पानी लेके let's clean it up and let's maintain it.
What about people with physical disability?
There are South Indian temple, you will not be able to touch the goddess or the deity. When you go up north, there are some places where you can do, the element of touching the murti and taking a virtual closer darshan. As far as it's people's money donated to the temples and utilized for the benefit of the mankind or a common man, I think everything is win-win.
What if temples were run more like a professional organization? Is it time to rethink the rising VIP culture in temples? Do foreign aided temples like ISKCON raise questions about religious authenticity? So welcome today. In this very thought provoking podcast episode, we are diving deep into the future of temples with none other than Giresh Kulkarni, the visionary behind Temple Connect and the International Temples Convention and Expo. Welcome, Girish, in today's episode.
Namaste.
Namaste.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for bringing up this episode with an important topic because through your medium, these elements would reach people in a larger way.
We are hoping that we do that. And of course, it's an honor to have you here with us today. So, is it time for temples to be managed like a professional organization? What do you think? Temples have actually till now traditionally been places of spirituality, but you've been pushing on a more professional approach to a temple management, with Temple Connect. So, what motivated you to take this direction, considering that, a temple, we always look at it as a place where any and everybody can go in? So, tell us a little more about this.
So, largely, temple industry or temple ecosystem has been existing much before us and will stay after us also. The temple economy has actually been the place where banking, education, knowledge systems, panchayat raj, multiple elements were in the olden days happening around the temple as a center place. So, in a small village, if there was something which was happening around any community issue, to taking loans for their businesses or even to standing together to manage issues around the temple town or any place, the temples were the active ones who were involved. Temple Connect for the past 21 years has done a job of documenting, digitizing, and distributing content around the temple ecosystem and compiling that data together. When we all go to temples, there are two memories that we have. One is we go to the temple where we are visiting the god, goddess, or the place, and the second is meeting the pujari and taking the prasad from there.
Yes.
Most important of this usually is that the jugaad that we want to do in to go inside the temple quickly and come out fast. But there are so many other things which are happening there in parallel, like topics related to safety, security, surveillance, disaster planning management, funds management, sustainability, and so on. So we've just tried to do a job of getting focus or a limelight on the existing infra and giving it prioritization.
So basically, you're talking about modernizing the temple management that has been very traditionally done in the past.
That is correct. That is correct.
So, with the rise of commercialized spirituality, if I may use the word, and temple tourism, so do you really think that temples are really losing its essence?
So I'm gonna make a pointer here. How many of us actually know the difference between devotion and spirituality? Everyone mixes devotion and spirituality as one number or one activity. Primarily, just to share that with your viewers here. Whatever is outside your body, where it is Dev Puja, Ratna, Rudraksh, Pujan, Karmakand, or Yajna, is called as devotion. And whatever goes inside us, pranayam, nam jap, meditation, yoga, and various kriyas, is the spiritual side of the story. So the temples have got the devotional as well as the spiritual connect in two different parts. When we talk about temples, people do visit temples, but they go to temples because they have the relation with the god or the goddess there, and it's a commitment that they have with them. The infrastructure management or the governance is just the a support system to bridge this gap between the devotee and the deity in a larger way. to systematize this and see to it that the devotee who goes with no expectation to the temple beyond the fact of getting a good darshan, standardization is the key that I personally feel that we've been working around, because be it expecting mothers, senior citizens,
Yes.
any set of,
Inclusivity.
yeah, and people whoever are in the right need of the protocol darshan or the fast forward lines should be given priority, but we need to make the awareness well for the key decision makers at temples, big or small, be it Hindu, Jain, Buddha or Sikh temples. Primarily standardizing this is important, and that's what we are doing.
So, what about people with physical disability? We need to talk about inclusion. So, are you also looking at to these aspects?
So, what is largely important is that there are temples which have been built for ancient times and they've been there for a very long time. When it was built, the access of wheelchair access or especially abled people access points and movements for them was not planned in the earlier years. If it's an old temple, new temples definitely are incorporating the best of these systems, but there are steps that have been taken and education points that have been pushed upon to all the temple managers and administrators, that better systems for a greater experience for specially abled as well as senior citizens, expecting mothers, parents, or young parents primarily with the newly born babies and so on.
Yeah.
Priority is given at the same time when they are in the queue, and the queue is too long, and if there is any nature's call they want to step out to, they should not lose out the priority of their darshan because they're already standing there for a very long time. So
Yeah.
there are micro detailed documentation through the International Temples Convention and Expo is what we are publishing as a ready reckoner and a standardized booklet for the temples.
So let's talk a little bit about the government. Should government really regulate temples? Or should they really be run independently? And also, what about foreign donations that don't they create a conflict of interest?
So I want to share two perspectives first. In India, there are about 32 lakh plus temples which are Hindu, Jain, Bodh, and Sikh temples.
Okay.
They are large, small, mid-size, and tiny temples subject to the transaction as well as the footfalls. In India, five states Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. All the temples in these five states are controlled by the endowment boards, and there is a ministry and a department which controls the temple and the temple interface and management.
Okay.
Central India, the temples are managed by either families or family run temples, which are now managed through the collectorate. Across the country, there are different rules and norms for managing, operating the Temple Act, the Trust Act, and variety of these things. First of all east, west, north, south, and central India as a direction, there is no one standardized practice scenario which is happening, because even the formats of pujan and the timings are different, because when
In
you go
each
down
state.
south you will not be able to touch the goddess or the deity. When you go up north, there are some places where you can do the element of touching the murti and taking a much more closer version is a different experience. All I'm trying to say is that although India is one country, but it has different dynamics. We have to deep dive into the fact of government has to understand administration related activities more from their local perspective. So a South Indian temple or a state like Tamil Nadu cannot refer to what needs to be done at somewhere in Maharashtra or Goa or even in Rajasthan. So standardization per state is important. When we talk about decentralization and saying that temples should get free from the government control, everyone, that's a wish list, but there are no ready people. So if tomorrow 20 lakh temples are free are freed from this level of control in any capacity, who is managing it and who is ready to manage it? So education in the temple management ecosystem needs to be well done so that people learn through it, and then they are upgraded towards the freedom element altogether. So are we ready for it? We practical are not completely ready for it. Also, government has different perspectives. The International Temples Convention and Expo that we organized, we had this in Tirupati this year, where the Honorable Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, Maharashtra Chief Minister, Goa Chief Minister, and multiple other dignitaries participated in the inaugural. Every state has a different perspective. So
Okay.
it's an ongoing process. Government is doing its best to empower the temple economy, the systems and the people around the temple, as well as steps are taken for better experiences for pilgrims or temple goers. All of this is happening over a period of time. I am very happy to say that as Temple Connect and ITCX, we have been the key. You may say people pushing this concept. There are more eminent people already doing a lot of work, but we have been there and doing our best with the government. And in near times, it's the right motive with the right process, which is going to get us the desired outcome.
So let's talk about temples like ISKCON, which are funded heavily by foreign donations, especially from outside India, So doesn't this create a conflict of interest, or is it just a modern day necessity and, we are okay about it?
See, largely speaking, let us first understand the concept of temple is something which has already been existing and been there for a very long time, and we are visiting these temples for blessings or the kind of energies which will change the times in our life is with the faith and the devotion that we go there.
Yes.
ISKCON has been created a certain number of years back to firstly reach out to the audience which is beyond India when it was created and when Srila Prabhupada ji visited the US and they created this lineage there. Naturally, they created a very strong
Yeah.
section for them, for people who are not following the Krishna consciousness to come ahead, know more about the Krishna consciousness and how the elements can be embedded in their life. Now, their followers are the people who largely are globally based also. There is a huge number of other temples which are Krishna centric temples across the country who have followers like you and me and the other set of people. But ISKCON temples and ISKCON followers who are largely from the international space first. So if their followers are based out of the international lands and if they want to help that ISKCON initiative through their donations, it's purely their personal perspective. As far as the money that has been donated is been going for a good cause with a good motive and is solving some public problems, be it in India, be it in the US or anywhere in the world. As far as it's people's money donated to the temples and utilized for the benefit of the mankind or a common man, I think everything is win-win.
So, how can we ensure that our ancient temples are preserved, for future generations? Because there's a lot of temple restoration is really becoming a very critical issue, and with so many temples in need of repair and care, what is the best way forward, really, to create and ensure that these spaces are preserved, for the generations ahead? Because some of the architecture in all these temples are absolutely beautiful. How do we, look into sustaining this?
So I would rather take a different perspective. When we look at something outside, we need to be first disciplined inside. Now we are taking an initiative where we have already launched something called as Adopt a Temple Initiative, and
Okay.
also we are looking at closely working with various endowment departments and various temples independently. We have a reach to about 11,106 temples in 58 countries, which in the next 3 years would reach to about 25,000 temples would be connected closely with Temple Connect. Now, when we reach out to these number of temples and when we connect a larger audience, firstly disciplining ourselves from when we go to temples, why are we going there? Are we going there for picnic or are we going there for pilgrimage or are we going there for a photo opportunity or a selfie? Is has to be first clear in our mind. When we talk about cleanliness, hygiene, sanitization at various other foreign lands and places of worship in international locations, we so much do the job of publishing it on social media in a larger way. But when it comes to an initiative which is a temple next to your household, so when we where we stay, we have a working that there is a temple which is next to our house. How many times we actually go there and see यार ये साफ सुथरा है कि नहीं और चलो चार बाल्टी लेके पानी लेके let's clean it up and let's maintain it and let's extend the support to them that how we can help them. Point of temple is a place of holy worship, but there is a statement where we say that your body itself is the temple and your soul is the god in that temple. So
True.
speaking, when we look at temples anywhere, be
Mhm.
it next door or to the national capacity or to the ones which are under the Archaeological Survey of India, it is important that we ourselves as citizens also discipline a couple of things before expecting only from the government. How many of us actually really go to temples, one new temple every fortnight? We don't. Even if it's next door or the lane in the city or somewhere else, we don't. How many of us actually say, what are those? So, how many of us gift each other Hanuman Chalisa and say that, okay, मैं ये पढ़ रहा हूँ, आप भी पढ़ो, आपको मजा आएगा. We usually get into alcohol gifting, we get into gifting of new perfumes and other things for our friends and well wishers. Why not devotion and devotional products? Ideally, the idea is to recognize that by doing good karma, you will get back the good karma in your living. And these small steps, coming back to your question, maintenance of temples and so on, begins with us first. Also, when we discipline ourselves and go with clean, clear intention of helping that temple ecosystem in a larger way, then is where we can demand from them saying that hum to ye kar rahe hain. We are doing these things. What are the things that you all are doing complementing these journeys? So ताली एक हाथ से नहीं बजती, वो दोनों हाथों से बजती है. Effort has to be taken from both the ends.
So, what inspired you to create International Temples Convention and Expo, ITCX, and what's the long-term vision for this platform?
I largely come from a background of media communication, brands, and events. I understand that industry quite well. It's been 32 plus years that I've been spending time in that. When we see an auto expo, so long back in the year 2003, auto expo has been very famous, and it has been a meetup of people in the auto industry who come together on the fixed dates in a year in Delhi at Pragati Maidan. They meet up, they share their views. There are new product launches. There are sessions by important dignitaries and so on and so forth, and people go back to the industry and complement and add value to the industry. I thought that similarly in the industry which is to do with temples, which is the oldest of its kind, putting these aspects together, coming together, learning from each other, learning from larger temples, smaller temples can learn processes and systems, learning from industry specialists and stalwarts, at the same time sharing our perspective and vision together, making this a strong effort would be a win-win. And because we come with a background that we visited so many, but a couple of thousand temples across the globe, I think you usually pick up your area of interest. Of so I may have visited more than 4,000 temples, and if that was something which was pushing me, a person who does pub hopping is a one who likes going to pubs. I like going to temples, so I kind of used my knowledge of media communication and events to present this concept to the world.
So let's just talk about the rise of ticketed temple entries, and this growing VIP culture, which have really sparked heated debates, While some argue that tickets are necessary for upkeep, others feel that it diminishes the sanctity of the experience. So what's your stance on this? Should temples really move forward towards a more egalitarian approach, or do you think that these are just measures that are essential for sustainability and management? Though I would think that it should be accessible for all, and this whole ticketed experience in temples makes me wince a little bit. What's your thought on it, Girish?
So I think that when you look at the temples, the temple economy is dependent on three parts. First is the awareness. So if a temple has a greater awareness, then the next part which comes is called the footfalls. With greater awareness is the greater amount of footfalls, and with greater amount of footfalls is greater revenue collection, which further is utilized for the benefit of the common man at multiple temples through various charities, education, donation, further donations, and beyond. Now, when you look at temples and darshan, I personally feel that it's a temple's call to look at this contribution for a VIP ticket or a premium ticket to be used for using and donating it to a right cause. What I know out of the TTD Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, there is a special break darshan fee of rupees 10,000 per person
Yes.
collected, and there are about if I'm not wrong, about 1000 people are allocated that ticket every day. Now India is a strong country with a lot of financial bandwidth and time altogether. People who have the deep pockets to donate, they donate that money. The money goes for a good cause and further is used for dialysis centers, to medical facilities, to education, to multiple of these scenarios. Now, if there are smaller temples which are not as big as this and the ticket point is not as premium, See, we any which ways go to temple, we want to buy convenience by giving these tickets, by buying these tickets and getting a clear passage
Hmm.
internally.
Hmm.
On the other side, there are some senior citizens who are extremely rich and capable, but they feel that I want to stand in the queue and burn my karma of whatever it may be. So मैं जितना देर मैं इस line में खड़ा रहूंगा, I will be more blessed in my belief and whatsoever it is. So there are different schools of thoughts with different people who have the money, who want to donate and do a quick darshan, who also have the money, want to donate, they donate it in a different way, but they still line up and stay in the queue to make this experience. So it's purely a call between the person or the pilgrim who goes to the temple and his god or goddess that he is visiting. If he feels that he wants to send the premium money spent there and that money is going to be used for a good cause, brilliant. If it is not like that, if it's up to them not to spend that money, stand in the queue, it's a personal call. Darshan is available to everyone. So by doing these activities, darshan has been not stopped for a common man, saying that no, because you are not spending premium money, you will not be given darshan. It's the time of balancing time, commercial win-win for temples as well as the donor. And at the end of the day, we look at it that this money would be used for some good cause. Might as well, create this avenue where revenue to the temple goes up and temple enhances its own infrastructural aspects also in a longer run.
What about the laddu? There was this whole laddu, in Tirupati, that there was this huge conversation that went around it. I would really like to hear your view on this, Girish.
So largely speaking, right now there is a it's a status quo on the matter because it is sub judice and there is matter in the court and there is a SIT which is working around it. So primarily on the Laddu case, what happened? It's still under scrutiny and we all need to know whatever has happened. There is a brilliant example quoted by Premanandji Maharaj of Vrindavan. What he said is that when you go to a temple and when you take the prasad is a blessing from the God's place. It doesn't come to you only as a food particle served to you, but it comes to you as something which has been given as a token of blessing from the temple. Tomorrow, even if the temple knowingly unknowingly gives you whatever, your faith in that entire process is about भगवान का प्रसाद है जो आप और हम ग्रहण करेंगे. Now if there is anything unethical, wrong, or something which is uh, done with wrong motives, definitely needs to be punished and definitely no one can end up playing with sentiments of a common man.
Yes.
With reference to this, I am with the great saint Premanandji Maharaj and his input, and I'm sure we all should look at it that भगवान के द्वार से जो हमें अच्छा आता है, आशीर्वाद आता है, प्रसाद आता है, उसे ग्रहण करें. किसी ने उसको someone is trying to malign that incident if it is true or however it is, but we should look at the larger picture of a blessing and moving ahead. And it was something which in near future there are standardizations that we are recommending through the ITCX and Temple Connect, where prasad storage, making, distribution, and standardization is well done in the government and FSSI processes.
So let's just talk a little bit about temples, which are increasingly becoming Instagrammable. You find people going there and then they do this whole selfie and the Instagram picture. I've done it too. So is this really ruining the sanctity of religious places, or is it simply a reflection of changing times? So do you think it's distracting from the core message, or is it a tool really for better outreach? Tell me the truth.
So I personally feel that when we were growing, when I was in my early 20s, there was nothing called as Instagram and WhatsApp and
Of course.
social media connectivity, right?
Yeah.
So we used to get information about all these places quite late.
Yes.
तो कोई अगर जाके आया है तो अगले 3-4 महीने में हमें पता चलता है कि यार दिस इज
Yeah.
समथिंग which is there. But now thanks to the data time as well as the fast media of social media, everything is real time, everything is now, right? So social media has done a brilliant job in empowering more footfalls and awareness to the temple economy. I am on the side of complimenting social media and thank you all whoever is talking great about it. But that is part one. Now, I'll give you an example. I met one sadhu ji who was coming down from Kedarnath, and I was at Gupt Kashi. And I asked him, Prabhu ji, आप बताएं केदारनाथ जी में आप कब से हैं? So he said he's there for past 30, 40 years. Every time he goes there, stays there for 6 months and comes down. I said, what is different in Kedarnath ji in the earlier times and now? तो ही सेड बेटा मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूँ, पहले लोग मंदिर में ऐसे जाते थे, अब लोग मंदिर में ये मोबाइल पकड़ के ऐसे जाते हैं, बिकॉज दैट इज व्हाट हैपेंस, दे डोंट सी द गॉड डायरेक्टली, नाउ द मोबाइल इज यूज्ड एज अ वर्जन of looking at it. This is something which is something which needs to be corrected. You've gone there, you have, God has given you two eyes. I even tell people, जब मंदिर जाओ तो वो भगवान को आंख खोल के देखो. You get into this process of closing your eyes there, but see him. You waited for so many hours and days and even the life that you've gone there. So go there, take good darshan, use your social media. Anything in excess is hazardous, so use it as much as is needed. There is a video going on social media right now where there is at Kedarnath Mandir, at the backside of Kedarnath Mandir, where there is a Bhim Shila. I think there is some people playing music, and there is a party kind of a kind of a look and feel being created around it. So we need to understand and tell people, listen, temples are places of holy worship, of a sentiment, of a pilgrimage. It is not a picnic spot. You are not going there only for your selfie moments and placing the world upon it. So every coin has two sides. When we are good and humble and when we appreciate social media, but at the same time, some decisions, so you don't take social media and switch on the cameras sitting in your bathrooms to show the world what you all are doing. As private as that is the visit to temples where it is the most private and most sane in the approach of cleanliness, hygiene, sanitization, and personal divinity. So don't mix both up together.
So, have you ever wondered about the architecture, right? This, which varies really in India, in the north, the south, the east, and the west. So, tell us the difference, in spirituality that goes with the architecture of the temples. And, it varies so much that what you see, in the west or the north or the south, there are different regional spiritual practices. What does it say about this entire concept?
See, largely speaking, we will divide the temple infrastructure in three parts. One is the god goddess. So if it is one of the Jyotirlings or if it is one of the Shakti Peeths, so there are 12 Jyotirlings, there are 52 Shakti Peeths, there are 108 Divya Desam or Vishnu Sthans, then there are various sthans as per the planets or the Navagrahas and so on. Now, what happens is every temple subject to the god, goddess, deity, or the guru that the temple is related to. The decor, the look and feel, the architecture, as well as the carvings on the wall, as well as the pillars, is all aligned with the story related to that god or goddess. Earlier times, there was nothing called as WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook to publish data and content for other people to learn after 100 years. We usually post our own pictures and don't even go back to that same picture and see whether, except for the fact of seeing how many comments and likes we've already got. But when it was the olden times, the carvings and the heritage and the history of gods, goddesses, and the references of what happened then was engraved on those walls. How many of us actually go to these temples and look at what it's trying to tell us? How many of us actually relates to creating stories around these stories on your Instagram or Facebook and telling the world, next time when you go there, don't forget to see this corner behind the main murti, which is talking about how Bhagwan Shiv, whatever the narration subject to the Shiv Mandir or whatever the narration subject to the Shakti Peeth. So idea is there is enough for us to consume. We usually go to international lands and try and find out how unique it is there and how pretty it is there. But what is there within us is what we don't see and don't reflect it to the world. So idea is that it's like a pump. Water pump. When we do the water pumping, the water level goes up, and the water level goes up, and finally gives you the outcome. So your level of knowledge inside has to go up so that the upgradation of divinity is high in your own way.
So I need to ask you a very sticky question about the cleanliness of temples, right? Because there are stray dogs that are often not even vaccinated, and they're like really wandering around the temple premises. So how is it that we can effectively manage, the presence of stray dogs entering the place, and sometimes they can bite, and it can cause problems, right?
See, so it's all about how the local government, panchayat, the collectorate, as well as the key authority managing the temple, how they prioritize their requirements in the temple ecosystem. Now,
Okay.
there are two ways to do it. One is they have to have the self awareness to cater to this entire matter and see to it that such situations do not arise.
Okay.
Or if there is any kind of a situation which has happened where a stray dog or any stray animal has affected the pilgrim or the devotee, then they get into action because they have more eminent other important things to do as per their schedule, saying that हमारे पास और भी काम है संभालने के लिए. Now that is one way to do it. Second is people like us who are doing the job of sharing insights, doing a ready reckoner at the same time, taking inputs from people like y'all, learning from your expectations and presenting it to them. There is a brilliant report that we are going to publish as a white paper and a yardstick for temple and temple managers along with KPMG. This is the first time I'm sharing this with you on any podcast or any channel. So this report would be a ready reckoner which would be circulated across and would be considering all these points in that. So improvisation is the key. Is there a need? 100% there is a need. Is there issues related to cleanliness, sanitization, mobile toilets, parking lots, and other aspects at a very high level? So it's about 90% issues needs to be sorted, where only 10% large temples have already got some solutions to it, but it's still not complete. But we'll get there, and we are taking baby steps as we go there.
Fantastic, Girish. What's your message to the youth of India?
When we talk about temples, don't only look at going to temples, at Kedarnath, Badrinath, or far, far away. There is a temple next door. Form a group, make people come along, go to a temple next door. If it is not clean or if it is not as per your as hygiene standards, get into a local engagement with them, saying that हम मिलके क्या कर सकते हैं. Let the public get involved with temples, not only to take prasad or take benefit and the mileage of taking darshan quickly, but also cleaning it, maintaining it, and making it a happening place for your own soul rather than anyone in the world. One more most important thing is, in the in every week, primarily try going to a temple at least once. Tell your next generation the importance of going to temples, the processes of following temples, and above all, first start by disciplining yourself by making the temple environment clean, green, and plastic free.
Thank you so much for all our listeners for tuning in to this insightful conversation on the evolving landscape of temple management. If you found today's discussion thought-provoking, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts on temple management and what you think the future holds for temples around the world. Stay connected, and until next time, keep questioning, keep learning. Thank you, Girish, for being on today's episode.
Thank you very much. Jai Shri Ram.